Well, I actually started 4 years ago, and I started with the sexual exploitation of minors, and I had a minister come and see me from one of the large predominant churches here in Atlanta, and actually I didn't want to talk to him because I was so busy, and he was not my minister. And he came from a church here on Peachtree Street, and he knew that I had the ability to make a change. And he said, "Senator, I need help with these children. I have children who are standing on our stoops on Peachtree Street." And I asked him, "What are you doing?" And he replied and said, they were trying to protect themselves, and they would run out and catch a car, and they were doing sex acts and charging for it. So they were sexual prostitutes.
Since Senator Unterman's introduction to the issue, she has partnered with organizations like Street Grace and Pastor Weimer to craft legislation aimed at strengthening Georgia's laws on child abuse.
We got involved back in 2005 when Mayor Shirley Franklin issued her report, Hidden in Plain View, which lifted up how much Atlanta had become a hub for trafficking, human trafficking in general, but the trafficking of children in particular. And in that report, she identified 3 corners in Atlanta that were particularly problematic for this issue. And one of those corners was the corner on which our congregation sits, Peachtree Street and North Avenue. We came to Senator Unterman's office, and we knocked on her office door, and we got no answer, but we kept knocking. And she finally opened the door, and we went in, and we talked to her about the fact that it's just unacceptable for us as faith leaders, as citizens of our community, to have such a great city that has so much going for it, and yet to have something so horrific going on in our midst as child sex trafficking, that something had to be done and someone had to do something about it. And as we shared that message with Senator Unterman, she felt the call within herself to do something about it, and she began to introduce legislation to bring awareness to this issue.
And when I heard his story, I said, of all the things I do as a senator, why could I not help at least one of these children? And I got in the movement and helped start the movement of the commercial sexual exploitation of children, and defining the law, changing the law, creating a system of care, creating therapeutic services. It takes up to 1 year to rehabilitate. Introduced legislation that became law 3 years ago, Senate Bill 69, and it was mandatory reporters that included 7 different classes of professionals who had to report child abuse if they saw an incidence of it. So this new proposed legislation just expands the definition so that anyone who comes in contact with a child would be their responsibility to be a mandatory reporter. And mandatory reporting means that if you see child abuse, then you have to report it to the police or DFACS within a certain amount of time.
Senate Bill 355 has the support of the Senate Majority Caucus as a 2012 legislative priority, including support from Senate Majority Leader Chip Rogers.
But without question, protecting our children is one of the things government is supposed to be doing. So when children become the target of violence, or children become the target of anything bad, we need to make sure that that information is getting back to law enforcement authorities so that we can protect those children. So we stand firmly behind Senator Unterman, what she's attempting to do here. She's been a champion for this cause, and it's really what we hope that our party and our state is known for, and that is protecting our children.